Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats. We are a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined by two other chaps who also like to chat cats, Johnny and Sambo. How are you, chaps?
Oh, pretty good.
Superb.
Fantastic.
Oh, superb, he says.
The sports
High energy off the bat.
is back. Feels like it's been a while since we've had some football. About a week, to be honest, to be frank.
No,
Really
there wasn't football, John. It was
No,
just a
there wasn't,
simulation of football.
Yeah.
That's
And
all there
racing's
was.
back on this weekend.
Was-
The F1s are back,
Oh.
so it's an exciting time.
What an unpredictable sport. Like, who could possibly predict who's going to win the F1s this year, John? You must be on the edge of your seat.
On the edge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It may not be Max Verstappen, but
It
that's a
might
long
be his
shot.
teammate.
No, it won't be him.
All right. We've got lots of stuff to talk about. There's no time. No time. To talk about footy. So no, there's plenty of time to talk about footy. No time to talk about F1. There is though, chaps, a breaking news story I want to get to very quickly. We'll just hit it a couple of minutes. The Willy Wonka experience, the Willy Wonka experience disaster. I don't know if you chaps have had a chance to look at any of this, but it's exactly my kind of cringe. It's it's up there with one of my favorite things that's happened in January and February. For those who don't know,
Yeah, I know
Okay.
nothing. I know nothing about it.
I didn't check out
okay,
this stuff you sent me. I just know what our good mate Jacko from the Marcus Up, if he's still part of the Marcus Up podcast, told us this morning after our run.
it's incredible. So basically, the gist is, there was advertisement promotion, and we're only going to spend a few minutes on this, but I have to hit it because, as I said, it's just exactly my type of cringe. It's lovely. So basically, promoted as a magical Willy Wonka experience. I believe it was in Glasgow, and they were charging people $40. I don't know if it's $40 a family or $40 a ticket. But there was a lot of AI generated like art as part of the promotional campaign, and then people rocked up, got there. It's in a mostly empty warehouse in Glasgow. There's like a few little like tents and things set up inside the thing. The show consisted of 15 pages of AI generated gibberish, including a new villainous chocolate maker called the Unknown, who is this terrifying long black hair, long black robe, silver face, who lives in the walls of the chocolate factory. And the betrayal was just him emerging from behind a mirror to terrify children. The best part of it is that kids were handed a single jelly bar of a cup of Tesco unbranded lemonade, and that was all part of it. Apparently, they ended up calling police on these people. It's exactly the sort of thing that I want to read on Thursday, the 29th of Feb, chaps. Just
Do you know
Why did they
glorious.
call police on them? Is there a big missing part of this story, or were they just called them because they're like,
The Oompa
Well, there
Loompas
was
did look like
Oompa
they were
Loompa
working a meth
station.
lab.
Yeah. It was quite suspect.
got to
Yeah,
But as I
diversify?
said-
Chocolate only gets you so far.
As I said to Jack, they've done it completely wrong. What they should have done is they should have done the same thing, keep it in a very empty warehouse, same BS and all that, but just don't advertise it to the common man. Advertise it to the uptight, arty farty people and say it's a
It's an installation.
installation of the world of AI or whatever, and make it like really expensive, and then people go in there and go, "Oh, I know what this all means. It's arty. It's our type of art that speaks to us that only the rich and powerful will understand. They could have made a fortune and people would have
Definitely.
gone home thinking they've learned something. But they went the wrong way.
Exactly.
They
It's
went
just like
down.
having a
Here you go, sorry.
it's just like having a Melbourne Demons membership, you know? It's artsy. What does it all mean? I don't know. We'll spend a whole winter working out, and after it we can just go hit the
And
snow.
this drug
All right,
crash.
let's get into it, chaps. The culture. Let's
It's
crack
the culture of
into
that thing.
let's get into that. But if you haven't seen it, go Google it because it's an absolute pisser. We've got a match, chaps, and it's not just a sim. This is not a simulation. I know reality is a simulation, but this is not a simulation. This is a preseason match. This is a preview, a proper match preview. It's a proper match. This is a proper match preview. It's Cats v the Bombers. We were going to have a guest on tonight. We've had to reschedule. He had an alpha male convention to attend. You chaps know how this is. As
Yep.
stoic alpha males yourself, sometimes the conventions come up and you just have to go as I die on screen. So yeah, couldn't organize it for tonight, but we're going to get this guest on during the season when the Cats play the Bombers for real. So we'll save him. We'll keep that one up the sleeve.
Yep.
So chaps, Cats v Essendon preseason preview. Let's crank it off straight away with some team selection because that has been released. I'll run through these for you, and that's the immediate thing I want your reaction to team selection. We've got the backs: Mark O'Connor, Sam De Koning, Jake Kolajasny. The halfbacks: Jack Henry, Tom Stewart, and Jed Buse. Does anything stick out there, or would you like me to just continue through the whole team?
Just continue.
Just wrap.
That's
Yeah.
all
All right, I'll
pretty
go through the whole
Check 'em
team.
top standard.
Center line is Mark Blixarves, Max Holmes, and Mitch Duncan. You've got your half forwards as Tyson Stengel, Brad Close, Jeremy Cameron. The forwards, Tom Hawkins, Lionel Messi, and Shannon Neal. The followers, Reece Stanley, Patrick Dangerfield, and Tom Atkins. And the interchange, it's an extended interchange bench by the look of things. Zach Guthrie, Tanner Bruin, Jai Clark, O'Sheen Mullen, Zach Tui, Oliver Dempsey, Sean Manor, and Jack Bowes. And the emergencies will be chosen from Toby Conway, Mitch Nevitt, Connor O'Sullivan, and Brandon Parfit. Chaps, thoughts on the selection? Obviously, Ollie Henry, an absentee. Did you say an ankle, a rolled ankle, John? So I
What
don't know
I
if that's short term, medium
saw
term, or long term, but
on the socials was a rolled ankle. So I think it's just,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but they're just being precautionary
Yeah,
about his.
I
about
was
him.
gonna say the article said mostly a precaution for a rolled ankle.
And Reece Stanley. This article I'm reading is from kroc.com.au/national/Geelong-Cats/@selection community series. Proper attribution there.
Well done.
By Tom King. Thank you. So yeah, a few guys left out. Mitch Nevitt, Connor O'Sullivan, Brandon Parfit all look set to play in the VFL clash. Sean Manor, the only uncapped player selected. What are your general thoughts on the lineup? Ollie Dempsey absence, the lone ruck situation. Where do you want to go first? I'll throw it to Sambo first, then you, Johnny.
I mean, the biggest thing obviously is that Gary Rowan's still not back, so that's all I've really.
Sure.
And when I was looking, it didn't really have any kind of indicated. Presumably, that's just the same thing that was happening last week, and it's continued through. But he didn't have any sort of information next to him where it just said he was a notable absence. But apart from that, I mean, yeah, sucks not to have Ollie Henry in there, but hopefully it'll give some of the other guys a chance to sort of play that third fiddle sort of role, get a bit of impact. So yeah, look, I don't think there's anything that greatly disturbs me about this selection.
Johnny?
I'm pretty pretty much the same. I think it's looking like could be a pretty stock standard team for the coming year. It's a pretty good one, I
Mm.
reckon. I like Shannon Neal in the forward line. I reckon it's a really good opportunity for him to again stake a claim on that position. And I'm really interested in watching Tanner Bruin and who else is the fellows? Mainly Tanner Bruin, and see how Jai Clark go now that Guthrie is out for the next 8 to 10 weeks. So I think them two will be ones to heavily watch for this community series game. See how the Cats do compensate for the loss of Guthrie.
Yeah, for sure. It's in, like you said, it's an opportunity there for Shannon Neal, because we were just having this conversation. I think we talked about it a bit on the pod, but it also came up on Twitter, and that, people were saying, "Oh, Shannon Neal looked really good. I can see him slotting into the lineup." And my sort of thought this year was, well, unless Hawkins, Cameron, or Ollie Henry find themselves sidelined, it's going to be real hard for Shannon Neal to force his way in. But here you go,
Plus
preseason.
with Gary
you get an
Rowan
opportunity.
to still come back into his side. So
Yeah.
this is
Well, I mean,
hugely
that's why.
important.
What do you think, too? Do you think this is an indication to a degree about, like, this is a strong lineup? Like, really, I don't know about you, chaps, but this wouldn't surprise me if it was like the round one lineup if you added Gary Rowan back into the lineup. Like, if Gary Rowan was in, this would be very close to what I can imagine the Cats going with. Like that, it feels fairly full strength to me in that sense.
Yeah,
Like, there's not a
apart
lot
from
of
the obviously
experimentation with it.
no, that's what I was going to say. Apart from the obvious injuries, there doesn't seem to be any kind of wacky, let's throw this person in and because I was even wondering with some of the absentees from the match sim, there was some notable players that didn't really get a run. I kind of theorized that they might even carry the match sim attitude all the way into this game and really keep shaking things up. But it looks like they're pretty much going at full strength and with the obvious and presumably most effective choices.
Mm.
I'll be sort of interested to see, like Max Holmes listed as part of that center line. Obviously, what they're listed as here on Thursday night has nothing to do with how they line up Friday afternoon/evening. But the fact that he's not listed to play halfback, I don't know if he was in the previous in the match sim, whether he was actually listed to play there or he just played there. It'll be interesting to see if they go back to that more tried and tested thing. I'm glad Ollie Dempsey's in the side. Glad Sean Manners in the side. I really like. I know, I went back and forth with some people on it, on Twitter and stuff, but all of the players who I suppose were left out to play the VFL clash made sense to me. For whatever reason, I've watched a fair bit of Toby Conway. I've watched a fair bit of Mitch Nevitt in the VFL and that sort of thing, and they didn't light it up. And if this is more of a dress rehearsal for round one, I didn't personally think that either of those guys had done anything in the match sim that made me go, "Oh yeah, you got to include them in round one." So it all sort of makes sense to me. It's not saying that they can't get back, but I certainly thought, as I said, if this is a dress rehearsal for round one, this lineup makes a lot of sense to me. Let's start previewing this. Let's move away from sort of team selection into the preview. Obviously, yeah, I think I'll start with you here, John Doe. What would you like? So, what are you hoping to see this week that either you saw last week and you want to see a continuation of, or maybe you didn't get to see it last week that you're looking for on a Friday at 5:00?
Oh, similar to what we saw last week, just that bit higher intensity. I like the the ball movement that the Cats did. I'd just like to see a bit more of that. Running from the back line and being brave with the ball going through the center line again. I really liked it when they played that dangerous, high risk football, but when it came off, it looked fantastic. It worked really well. So I'd just like to see that a bit more. I want to see Tanner Bruin also continue his good work from last week, where he was very heavily chasing the ball, chasing it, and trying to get involved in some way, and smart movement as well. Same as Jack Bowes. I'd like to see him continue on for where he left off in that second half, but start off earlier, get into the game a bit early, a bit more involved straight away instead of sort of not knowing where he was, sort of in a way, and clean up that disposal as well. I think he's still kicking isn't spot on yet, so hopefully he can clean up this week. But apart from that, I just want to see another step up of what they did last week. Not full intensity just yet, I don't think both teams will, or you never know. Both teams might go out there and go, we want a real hard hit up. I'll be fine with that, as long as no injuries occur. And also I'd like to see Shannon Neal kick a couple of goals again, maybe 3 goals, and really, as I said earlier, stamp his spot in this side, in this forward line. He doesn't have Ollie Henry there, so this is a really good opportunity to really put his hand up, show what he's made of. And yeah, as we said earlier, this is a massive game, I feel, for Shannon Neal, like to really try and get a spot in that side or put that best foot forward. And I feel like that's a really good opportunity for Jai Clark as well. See what his best foot is from the beginning. He sort of didn't start off that well last week. And if he can start off the way he sort of ended, I think he could nearly be selected round 1. So yeah, a few things I'd like to see, but mainly from the young guys. Don't think we need to see a whole lot from the seniors because we know what the seniors are going to bring. But yeah, just that nice ball movement, and the young guys take this opportunity with both hands.
What about you, Sambo? Like same sort of question. I know you didn't get to watch last week, so in some ways this is game 1 for you. And let's face it, last week was a match simulation. It wasn't a real game. It was just a simulation.
This isn't even game 1.
No, this is our round 0.
It's
so what?
This is like the prelude.
What do you? What are you hoping to see? What are you hoping not to see?
Injuries.
Yeah,
done.
That's
Everything John said. Plus
freak out moment, but I thought that's the last thing I heard Jake said was, "What do you want to see?" And then injuries.
Well,
Jesus.
I don't know. I don't know how it came through with the internet delay, which seems pretty intense tonight. But, I don't want to see injuries, to be clear.
No.
Yeah. Look, I think Johnny covered everything. Really, I don't really have a lot of
I'm sorry.
specifics in there. No, that's fine. As long as the information's out there and gets covered, Johnny. I don't care who says it. Yeah, I just want the TV to the team to be sort of working as an overall cohesive unit without Cam Guthrie, because I mean that's kind of the big elephant in the room, is that we've gone through a year without him and we never quite managed to look whole without him. And now we've got to try it again. So it'd be nice to at least see some improvement on last year in that front, in the way that we're transitioning the ball and winning the ball in the middle and able to move it up the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like this feels like, if you remember last year, I believe it was, we obliterated Hawthorn down at Kidinia Park in the match sim, in the match that wasn't a real match. And then we went up and got hammered by Brisbane. And that was sort of, in hindsight, a warning of what was to come for the rest of the year, because it was marred by injuries and some forced selection stuff from memory. I'm interested to see how Essendon front up, because they got hammered last week. after quarter time, so they were trailing 3-3 to 2-2 at the quarter time break, and then they only kicked 3 goals, 8 for the rest of the game. The Saints piled on 13 goals, 7, and won 106-40. Like, I know there was some fans out there with their knickers in a knot about it, and others saying, like, let's settle down. It's a match sim. It's a practice game. It's a training session. But you just wonder whether or not, Essendon, are they going to use this as a chance to come out and play really hard? In some ways, I kind of hope that they do, because it gives you a real sort of, it's never going to be as hard an intensity as an actual game of footy, but it would be a chance to see everything at a step up again. Who do you think you're going to be most dialed in on, Sambo? I like, as far as the midfield, like, who are you going to be looking at most closely, going, yes, you're the one to step up for Guthrie? Like, who's under your microscope, I guess, the
Specifically
most?
for Guthrie.
Yeah, like, yeah. Do you have that player?
I mean, I guess it's Tanner Bruin. I still feel like it's, as we I mean, mostly we discussed in the Patreon exclusive segment last week, or earlier this week, sorry. I think we're gonna have to moneyball it a little bit. Like, I don't think there's one player that's just gonna bring that entire consistent statistical weight that Guthrie brings. But if we can get a player that can bring, you know, 65-70% of what Guthrie brings, and then a bit of overlap from a couple other players, then I kind of think that's the scenario. But I think you are looking at Tanner Bruin to be that sort of the guy that should be stepping up and filling, or maybe not should, but could be stepping up and filling the void there. But honestly, I'm really keen to see Clark, like the fact that he's listed as an interchange. I'm really interested to see how they use him. I'm really interested to see how he bounces back from like, you guys were saying that it was a little bit underwhelming in the sim. Um,
Mm.
I'm wondering if maybe that sort of lack of energy surrounding a sim kind of, maybe he's a bit of a bright and lights kind of player. Like, maybe maybe he's the kind
Mm.
of guy who'll step up for the occasion. Um, so yeah, not to necessarily again look at him as the one that will be the next Guthrie, but I am, just from a personal point of view, really keen to see how he's used and how he's able to sort of step up to a slightly bigger occasion.
It's interesting you just bring up the thing about, like, Clark, like, did the underwhelming energy of the match sim contribute to him sort of being a bit more ho-hum, and maybe he's a
Mm.
particular type of player who needs a particular type of environment. Do you remember we had these conversations when he came on as the sub against Richmond in that, I think it was the Richmond game. It was either Richmond or the draw against Sydney. I think it was
It
Richmond,
was Richmond game.
in the loss.
I remember.
Like, he actually came in and his energy looked like higher and more intense than anything I'd watched in the VFL that season. And I was kind of like, what the hell? Like, this guy who sort of seemed hard, almost like, not disinterested, but his body language and that just seemed different to how I thought it would be when I first started watching him in the VFL. And then total transformation in that limited amount of time. He's flying around, getting involved. So maybe you're right there, and maybe some players can be hard to predict like that. They're going to turn up when it matters, and they're not necessarily going to be putting their best foot forward in a match sim. So it'd be interesting to know how he trains, with the AFL group, like what the coaching group are seeing, as opposed to what we might get to see in the VFL or a match sim. I'd be interested there. Johnny, do you have a different answer to what Sambo talked about with the midfield? Like, Sam talked about Bruin and Clark. Are those are the two names at the top of your list, or have you got others who are going to be under your
Yeah,
sort of inspection?
the only other one would be Shannon Neal, I think, and possibly I reckon keep a close eye on Max Holmes as well. See how he goes in this community game off the like centre line,
Yeah.
half-back area. But I think the big one for me would be the same as Sam, those two guys, and then Shannon Neal as well. I'd like to keep a close eye on. And then a little bit less Max Holmes. I think you just keep a slight eye on Max Holmes, see how he goes, or Holmes. But as Sam said, Tanner Bruin, Jai Clark, and then Shannon Neal. I think those three are ones everyone should try and keep a really close eye on to see how they go and see if they can, stamp themselves on the game in a really positive and impactful way.
What are you wanting to see? Like, what gets a tick for you for Shannon Neal? Is it the
think-
way it looks? Is it a particular stat line? Like, what do you want to see that gets a tick of approval from you at 8:00 tomorrow night when the game's wrapped up?
I'd just like to see some very good efforts and not afraid to crash the packs and not afraid to attack the ball either. I don't think the stats are hugely important for him at the moment, being so early on in his career. It's just more that eye test of seeing him go up in a big pack, either clunk a big mark or crash a pack to bring it down for Tyson Stengel, Brad Close, or Lionel Messi. So I think just an eye test, seeing if he's ready to put his body on the line a bit to help the team. If he can't take the mark, then crash the pack and bring it down to ball level and see what he can do around his ankles as well. So yeah, I won't be too disappointed if he doesn't kick like 3 or 4 goals. It's just how does he look during the game? Is he going to be brave enough to impose himself on this game? And I think if he does, that's a big tick.
Yeah, I thought you could start to see like that last week. Like there were a couple of really confident contested marks, so it's like let's see it again plus some. As we said, it's really hard right now because I don't think if everyone's healthy, Shannon Neal forces his way in. I mean, unless like someone's form drops off a cliff, but so it's like he just has to keep stacking performances on performances on performances. Like if he starts the season in the VFL, he's got to kind of just be, taking great marks, kicking his share of the goals, and just hoping that it all sort of takes care of itself. But I don't think there's anything he can do apart from stay healthy and have someone else be unhealthy to get selected in round one. That's not the stage of his development or his career in terms of opportunity that he's at right now. But yeah, I agree. Those guys you both mentioned, players I'm really keen to see. Just looking through the list, I'm hoping I get more Sean Manor. I only saw little bits of him sort of thing in the last in the simulation. I was really hoping to see more of him. The moments we did see, he was clever. And certainly seemed like he was the sort of player who would make things happen up forward. But yeah, I just would love to see more of him because it was very much a cameo sort of appearance. So I'm glad that we're getting to see him again. Anything else there, chaps, in terms of what you're looking for, what you're hoping for, what you want to be talking about when we come back on Monday night and recap this?
It's a nice victory and no injuries, as Sam said, and big talks about the young fellas and some of the senior guys as well, obviously.
Good chance to see the new stadium.
Oh,
too.
yes.
Not the official round one opening, but yeah, that'll be
We'll
that'll be
have a
nice.
much
Sambo?
better chance to see it in a few weeks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I think we've covered everything. Otherwise, we're going to run the risk of just naming players at this point.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's it for the preview, the public part of the preview. We're now going to go on over behind the Patreon curtain, and we're going to do our Patreon match predictions. So we're getting in the habit of doing that as we do throughout all of the season. If you want to hear that, go on over to Patreon, subscribe to the Hoops Crew. starting from as low as $5 Australian a month. You get extended podcasts, extended video shows, early access to things like some of the behind the play interview episodes that Paul has been doing. There's one with Jed Buse that released just a few days ago. So if you want to do that, go on over, subscribe on the Patreon. Currently offering a 7-day free trial as well. So you can go on, get a taste of it for a week, see if you like it. The other thing is, make sure you join the Hoops Crew tipping competition this year. It is, it's ready to go. Go on over to the Hoops Crew Twitter page and you'll find the tipping link there. So make sure you join up with that and join Ben on Postgame Live on YouTube tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. after the Cats Bombers game. Ben's going to be live. It was really good last week. So many of you joined in with that post-game live chat. So make sure you go on over and say good day to Ben and share your thoughts in the comments and such on the post-game live show tomorrow night, Friday, 9:30 p.m. That's it. We're out of here. We're about to come and talk to just you, Patreon subscribers. Until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats.
Go Cats!